What's going on, YouTube? And thank you for tuning in to the last episode of the Disco Era USS Enterprise tutorial, episode 88. I'm Zero Elite, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today we've got about a 38-minute video. We're really going to be wrapping up this build. We're going to be working on a registration number, which I think is very fitting. Nice christening for the ship. It'll be the last thing that we do on this build. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I did have somebody ask me in the comments section if you did not change your hull lines like we did in the previous episode, if it would affect the registration numbers, and it will not. This line, divider line I'm making right here so that we can start a registration numbers, you basically envision that this is where your hull line currently is, and you'll be able to add the registration numbers on the side, and you'll be able to work within the area that we have or had before, and it won't mess up your build at all. Should be perfectly fine. But this is going to be a little bit of a task today. As you can see, we've got a 38-minute video to do. There's going to be just a bit of trial and error to get where we need to be, but that's okay. With this particular thing that we're going to be doing today with the registration numbers, there's really no way around it other than to wing it, because we're going to have to be building this at an angle as much as we can, because it doesn't go straight across. Even the u.s.s Enterprise part, um, excuse me, does not go straight across on the Disco Era Enterprise, but that's the one liberty I took. I figure I can get away with that. Nobody will bat an eye at it. But we really need to nail the registration number part of it. And really the only way to do that is just to start building it out. Throw something down, see how it looks. So if you want to build along with me, feel free to do so. I'm going to be going slow enough that you should have no problems keeping up with me during this building process. I've been making a point as I've been doing this tutorial series to try to go just a little bit slower so that you can keep, or excuse me, so that you can go along with me without having a problem. But for whatever reason, while I'm doing this tutorial series on this episode, if you're having a problem, or if you get stuck, or if you just have a general question regarding this build or maybe another build, drop a comment below. I'm usually very responsive in the comment section. I'll try to see what I can do to help you out. If I don't answer your question directly in a comment, chances are I'm getting ready to answer it in a video. Um, as you can see, we're just getting going. I usually have a general rule that I go by when I build this. I always start off with the minus sign in the middle to separate the NCC and the 1701. And there's really two ways that you can attack this, but you really need to start out from either the inside or the outside and kind of work your way in. Um, but we're not going to go past the U when we start the N, and we're not going to go, you can't see it on camera here, but if you go just a little bit over to the right, we won't go past the E when we add the 1. So we really want to keep it within that angle. We will go in and we're going to finish up the NCC 1701. You can see it's kind of big right now. It's a little Kelvin era-esque in the size of it. So what I'll end up doing is I'm going to build this out all the way as it currently is. I was almost considering not going to show this and just show the revision that I made to it, but I decided that I wanted to show it anyway, because I've noticed something as I've been going on this build, that people basically have different tastes. They're going to have different opinions. They're going to have different things that they're going to like on the build, and I'm a Gemini at heart, so I usually will do multiple different designs, and I really want to make a point that if I have done that, to show that in the build or in the building process, to give you those extra ideas, because you might decide as I'm going through and I finish the registration number, yeah, maybe it's big like the Kelvin era Enterprise, but you might decide, yeah, that's like the one thing that the prime timeline should have had, like maybe like the bigger registration numbers, because it just looks sick. Now you'll be able to actually see how that's going to look, and if you want to copy this, feel free to do so. But if you want to go with something a little bit more conservative and a little bit closer to how it should be, then wait until we get past this part. You're going to want to fast forward through the video until I start using the red blocks to plot down the revised version of it. But I can tell you that I'm going to show you how to do the registration in this episode. And once we go in and do the revision, I'm not going to finish that 100%. Um, but we'll get into that before we get towards the end of the episode. But don't worry, I got you guys. I'll show you, guys and ladies, everything that you need to do to get this on your ship. And you can also see that I'm building this above the hull line. And I probably should have started off with this. I apologize for that. But there's a very specific reason that I'm building it this way. And that's simply because for whatever reason, as I'm going, if I'm not happy with something, I'm not deleting it out of the hull, and I can make changes to it a little bit faster, I think. And I also don't have to commit to it. I can just get it out of there, and you'll never even know it's there. Once we settle on the design, then we'll go in, we'll add it into the hull. So that's definitely another rule that I like to follow when I'm building, especially when I'm experimenting something, especially like the registration, because it's such a pain in the butt to get it right. You really have to take your time with it and just like build it out piece by piece, a little bit at a time. And even what eventually I settle on, it's not perfect, but you're probably not going to find a perfect registration number on somebody's ship. It's probably going to be off somewhere, some way, ever so slightly. And I mean, that's not a bad thing, but I mean, it just at the end of the day, it's not easy to build out these letters going at an angle that they need to go at. But that's not going to stop me from trying. I think what we'll end up on is pretty darn close. Um, you can see that I'm building out the N, and you can see I'm not going past the U. That's definitely an important part of it. We want to make sure that we keep this thing lined up to where it needs to be. The middle C needs a little bit of work here. The N doesn't look bad. We'll have to fatten it up by one row. The last C looks pretty good. I don't think we're gonna have to make too many changes to it, but this middle one is gonna need a little bit of love. Now, if I recall, what I settle on is for the middle C is almost actually identical to the second C. You can see I try here to make it go at a curve, and it's what can I say? It's very difficult to get it perfect. Um, the 1701, I feel like I did a great job on for this build, the end result of it. Both the big version of it and the smaller version that we do, that I'll do at the end. Um, but the C's usually give me the most trouble. I'm just kind of trying to envision it, but this is really the best way to do it. Put something down, take a look at it. If it doesn't look good, you can always take it down and do it again. Um, I've had some people ask me recently the status of the u.s.s. Cerritos and when that build is going to be starting. Um, I have started that build, and if you follow me on Xbox, you can check out my screenshots and you can see the progress of that build. I'm still early on in the build. I'm currently working on the saucer section, which is one of the longest parts of the build. If you have stuck with me on the Disco Era Enterprise, then you remember that that was several episodes that we spent just prepping out our saucer and getting a lot of that prep work done for later episodes. And that's exactly what I'm working on right now. That's going to be the most time-consuming part of the build. I want to play it by ear to see when those episodes are going to start. I say that the chances of it starting next week at this point are slim, but there is a chance that it could possibly happen. I I'm going to be getting on. My plan is to get on every single day at this point until I'm done with it. And you never know. I might get a lot of it done this weekend. I might not. It kind of sees on. I have to wait and see how it goes at this point. But if I don't start it on Wednesday, then um, or next week, then my plan is to start it by the following week. I don't think anything more than that I'll need in order to actually get it going. I don't need to finish the tutorial series in order to start it, but I need to have enough content recorded, or at least I need to have enough of the ship done to where I can take a screenshot of the near finished product on the outside, because that's something that I was actually very happy with that I did on this tutorial. That the screenshot, the build of the actual Enterprise did not change. There was one or two minor things on the outside that I tweaked, um, especially like that we did in like the last two episodes, but the shape of it and everything, like it's been pretty much the same. And hopefully that's helped with getting new subscribers coming in, because you're seeing what you're getting. And I want to make sure that I do that with the Cerritos. Um, but I'm actually really happy to get into that build, because there was a few things that I felt that I could have done a little bit better on this tutorial series, that I'm really trying to apply to the Cerritos build. Um, I really didn't. I don't think I really started to get in my groove on this one until we started getting towards like episode maybe like 25 or 30. Um, because I noticed towards the beginning when I was doing like the interior, I was kind of bopping around a little bit, from room to room. And as we went on, I really tried to get to a point and transition to a point where I was completing a room in one episode, or doing them all together, whether it be one episode, two episodes, or three, but they would be back to back. I really want to try to carry that over with the Cerritos. I'm going to try my best to. There might be one or two exceptions where maybe I do something and it just doesn't come out right, and we got to circle back to it. But as of right now, that's the plan. And I'm actually really looking forward to doing that tutorial. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually really excited to get going on that build. I've been doing my research for it. Um, if you want to start your prep work for it, you can start that up right now while you're waiting for that tutorial series to start. Just go on Google and do your search, for different screenshots of the Cerritos, both the exterior and the interior. Um, Another thing that I did to get ready for this build was I just started doing some research online, like reviews and like information videos on ships. And I came across this channel, Trek Yards. um, I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I don't know them. I just came across their channel when I was doing research for the Cerritos, and they had a couple of videos that they did, like reviews and like talking about it, like the different functions that it has. And they actually had, I can't remember if he was the writer, um, the main producer, on the show, but I know like he was one of those, and he was talking about the Cerritos and like going over some different things on the ship. And they actually in hand, they had a lot of really in-depth screenshots of that ship, and I was really excited by some of the screenshots I was able to get out of it. And it was uh, specifically because of Trek Yards that I was able to get a screenshot of the shuttle bay, or the outside of the shuttle bay, where that goes on the Cerritos. Um, I've noticed that with that ship, it's basically the same deal as like the Disco era Enterprise, that there's going to be versions that vary. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye out for. So, best thing I could do, or excuse me, the best thing I could suggest doing is first go on YouTube. If you don't have CBS All Access, find a clip from Star Trek Lower Decks showing the Cerritos, so you have something to start off of, and then grab other screenshots and make sure that they look close to that. That's what I've done. But if you want to wait until I start the series and just use the screenshots that I use, you can do that also. But I definitely recommend Trek Yards. I can't recommend them enough. They give out very knowledgeable videos. They're pretty informative. I think they're great. So definitely a nice shout out to them. But not affiliated with them in any way. They just have a pretty cool channel, and I like to talk about some of those other YouTube channels that are out there that are Star Trek related. I just think that we need a lot of Star Trek right now. Everything going on in the world, we need. I think having a truly optimistic show, is not a bad thing. I hope that Star Trek Discovery at some point or another decides to go in that direction. Um, I had been watching season 3, and so far they really haven't gone in that direction. But maybe I'll get into that point in the future. If you want to, what I'm actually curious about is, what are your thoughts on Star Trek Discovery? Do you like the new season? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments section below. But anyway, getting back in a little bit what we got going on here, you can see that we have got a base outline for NCC in the 1701. I think we're looking pretty good right now. We're in pretty decent shape. We've got to fatten up our NCC by 1 row. We're not going to go anything more than that. to have two total, because at that point I think it'll be just way too thick. Um, and then we're gonna have to that middle C that needs some love. The 1701 though, I think that's pretty close to being where it needs to be. The only other downside that this has right now, other than that middle C, is the size. It's a little too big. But again, if you really like this size, hey, go for it. At the end of the day, this is your enterprise. Do what you want to do with this build. Because otherwise, what's the point of doing this if you can't have a little bit of fun with it? I'm trying to stay as accurate as I can on the Disco Air Enterprise, but even then, I've taken my own liberties with it too. So um, that's just something I think that you can get away with, and nobody can really tell you otherwise. You know, if it looks good, no one's going to say anything about it. I don't think, unless you make the claim that it's an accurate one for one. Then at that point, you might be getting yourself into a bag of worms if it's not that accurate. But I think all things considered, what I did with this build, it didn't come out bad, and there's 3 rooms total on this build that I didn't end up finishing, and I actually did that on purpose because, in the future, I plan on circling back to this build, once, the show comes out, Strange New Worlds, the new Pike show. I wanna maybe add a couple of rooms that are from that show that look pretty cool that I end up liking, but I wanna wait and see what it's all about. But if there are any things that you want to see me do on the Disco Era Enterprise, for right now, this is going to be the last episode. I do not plan on panning back anytime soon to this build, and when I do, it won't be until um, Star Trek Strange New Worlds comes out. But regardless, if there's something that you would like to see me add to this ship, drop a comment below. Once I come back to it, I will pan back to the comment section to see what people were wanting me to add. And but right now, we're going to be wrapping up this episode and then moving on into the Cerrado. So excited to get into that build, as we've been talking about a little bit on this episode. But that's going to be coming in the near future. And then if there's any other builds that you want to see me do, be sure to drop a comment below. You never know. Even if I don't do that build right away, don't let that discourage you, because I'm always going to be doing these tutorials. I'm going to keep this going between doing tutorials and the showcases. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be Federation ships. It can be other ships from Star Trek or non-related to Star Trek. I'd say at that point, as long as it's nerd related, I'm at least open to it. I can't guarantee that I will do the build, but I will. I'm at least open to having a discussion about it. Maybe. Oh, definitely. I'm usually always very friendly in the comments section. If I don't get to your comment right away, it's just because I haven't been on YouTube. But I try to my best to get to every single comment. The people that take the time to watch my videos and comment, um, you all, I can't tell you honestly what it does mean to me that I've actually had so much love regarding this channel, because I was actually very nervous when I started. Doing commentary, because I've had this YouTube channel for now for a couple of years, but I've just recently actually started doing the tutorials and like the showcase videos with commentary added on to them, and I really wasn't sure if I would be good enough to do that, or if I had the skills necessary where I could get away with doing a tutorial, and on top of it having it be good. But I've really have gotten a very positive response from the community, and a lot of the people on this channel just seems like they've been just super loyal and super friendly, and I can't thank you enough for that. It does really mean the world to me. It means a lot, actually. You know, that you all take the time to watch my videos. Most of there's so many people that comment every single day that I have a new video up, and I just want to thank you very much for that. Um, you're all the reasons why I've made a point not only to finish this tutorial, but to really try to put my best foot forward and try to provide the best tutorial and the best build that I can possibly do. And it's also the reason why, in part, why I'm going to be continuing my tutorials indefinitely. Also, because it actually ended up being quite a bit of fun to do. Like I said in the beginning, I was a little bit scared to start it, but once I've really gotten into it now, and now that I've gotten the hang of it, I've actually really been enjoying myself, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it's can be a lot of work at times, between recording all the well, first of all, building all the new stuff, and then recording it and editing it and adding the audio commentary. But at the end of the day, I've actually really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to a lot of the stuff that I have to come in the future because I've got stuff that I want to do even after the Cerritos. I want to do the Enterprise D. I'm looking forward to that build. I've had some people commenting, showing interest in that. That they're starting their own builds on that, and they're taking some ideas from my tutorial, which is great because that's exactly what it was there for. People that were either inexperienced doing the Enterprise D, or maybe they just needed an idea or two, or either to get started or wherever else. But I think it's just really cool that there's so many people on Minecraft now that are building starships. Um, Especially like when I first got on here, like there was quite a few, but I feel like there's way more now than there was even 10 years ago. And I hope that can continues, and even more people get into not only Star Trek but to building on Minecraft, because it's such a great hobby, and a wonderful stress reliever. If you're ever stressed out, get on Minecraft and make sure that the volume's turned up, because I tell you what, if you actually need to sleep, the best sleep you will ever have in your life is sleeping with the Minecraft music in the background. That will put you to sleep, and best sleep of your life. The only sleep that you'll get better than that is with Minecraft and rain, and if it actually like rains where you live. But I gotta tell you, I've had times where I couldn't sleep and I put the Minecraft music on. I'm out in 10 minutes. No joke. But no, I mean this is a great hobby to have, and I highly recommend it. And even if you're new to my channel, and this is the first episode that you're checking out, check out my other ones, because especially if you're looking to build an enterprise, I've got 82 episodes, a platter full of information showing you how you can really build one of these things from the ground up, from the outside to the inside to the very last minor details, like we're doing right now. Um, and there's a lot more to come in the future. But anyway, getting back in a little bit what we got going on here, you can see that I am converting our registration numbers now into the hull. And once I'm done with that, then I'm going to make a slight revision to the writing USS Enterprise directly above it. And then we will make the last revision to the size of the NCC 1701, and that's going to call this one a day. It's hard to believe that we've gone up to 82 episodes. I wasn't expecting it to go this far, but I think that's just a testament of how much work that this can be, because it's definitely a lot, especially if you intend to build out the interior. It can be quite a bit, because I think if we only would have done the outside of this, we probably would have ended on less than half, because quite a bit of this was on the interior too. But the outside, we put quite a bit of work into this. So we're going to get this last letter, or excuse me, last number done, the 1, and then we're going to zoom out and take a look at our progress. And if you're really happy with this, you can leave it as is. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad at all. At that point, right now, it looks like the Enterprise to me. I don't see anything wrong with it. At this point, I'm nitpicking, saying that I need to make the registration slightly smaller. And that's just my OCD kicking in, where no, I want it to be as good as I can possibly make it. So that's the only other thing that I can see at this point, that it really needs. The NCC 1701 needs to be slightly smaller. But we're going to get to that in a moment. I believe we're going to switch over to slightly shifting the part of the word enterprise. But I will say this, that if you did not make a change to the hull lines in yesterday's episode, you do not need to make this change on this part right here that we're going to be making on the word enterprise. In fact, you won't be able to, because of the fact that the hull line is there. I'm making this change because the hull line is now gone, so now I can just slightly shift over part of the words so that it's not so cramped. I made that decision when we were building out this part of the build. I believe I talked about it, but to pan back on it just a little bit, the T in the T and on after that is slightly crunched and moved over to the right. Well, the T was crunched, and then every other letter was slightly moved over to the right. And I did that to accommodate the cut in the hull because I really wanted it to be there at the time. But I made the decision recently that um, it wasn't close enough to the Disco era Enterprise, so I wanted to make that change. But again, if you're not feeling it, don't worry about changing it. Again, do what you think works right for your build, and hopefully this gives you some ideas on things that you can do to apply to your build. But it's not so bad. We don't have to redo this whole part. We're only going to be going back to the T. We'll shift the T over when we get to that letter, and then we won't have to change anything past that. So it's not too bad. We got to change a couple of letters, but we're really only just moving it over by one. We're making considerable progress today. Already shot by the first 25 minutes. We're down to the last 12 already. All right, unless now the last letter, and we're just ever so slightly by one block. We're just going to shift the T over, and then the last block on the top part, we're going to delete that. Got a little tongue tied there, and that's it. That's all we need to do. We could have, if I really wanted to, we could have moved the N and the E over, but I think it's spaced out enough. It looks pretty darn good. I'm just nitpicking. I think she looks fantastic. There's always stuff that I'll be able to do better, but I think as of right now, this is probably the best I could have pulled off for this build. I'm incredibly proud of what I was able to achieve with this ship. I think I mean, I don't want to say that I'm the only person that has a fully near completed Enterprise, um, but I'm probably the only one that has this much detail in it because pretty much every other build that I've seen, even like the ones where I've seen a 1-for-1 scale, when you start going to the other levels on the ship, it's nothing but empty rooms. I think this might be the only one that's close to a full scale ship where we've utilized 95% of the ship. There's only 3 rooms left. That's pretty darn good. Because that will give us options in the future once Strange New Worlds comes out. Anyway, now we're going to be shifting over to our last revision. I'm going to rework the NCC 1701. The only thing I'm not going to do in this video is I'm not going to be deleting the old registration number underneath here. So you're going to have to do that off camera, and then once we're done mapping out the new one, make sure you use a different color also so it doesn't blend in. I mean, it'll be a block above it, but it'll help a little bit more if it's not the same color. But once you finish deleting out the lower side, you can just go ahead and transition your new registration numbers down one and just switch that to the dark gray. But I wanted to leave that off the table just so that I had something to show off in the showcase. Um, but again, I wanted to make a point to show you how to do it so I didn't leave anybody hanging. So when they saw the tutorial, or excuse me, when they see the showcase, they say, oh, well, you didn't show me how to do that. I wanted to make a point to show you this. There's 1 or 2 minor things I did not, that I'm not going to show for the tutorial series. I just wasn't really getting any people asking for it, like the junior officers quarters, for example. I didn't show that actually building it, and that was mostly because I didn't get anybody to ask. about it, and also because I'd already built the admiral's quarters and captain's quarters. I felt that it was just a smaller room, and I could just show it in the showcase. And I think seeing it, you should be able to replicate it. There's a couple of windows I added on the lower hull, but when I do the showcase, I'll show you where those are. You shouldn't have an issue adding them on. But other than that, there really isn't too much at all anything that I did that you haven't seen. I've done a pretty good job of showing almost just about everything, every single change that I've made on the build. I think the only other thing that I didn't get a chance to show was when I was working on the circular corridors. I didn't show the. It was either the inner ring I didn't show or the outer ring. I don't recall off the top of my head, but one of them I missed, and that was because I was having a problem with my mic, and I had to take, I think it was like a week off that I took until I got the new camera in, or the new microphone in. And I just decided, I'm just going to show the one because if you can build the one corridor, you can build the second one at any size if you just follow those rules. And if you got stuck on that, I actually have a second tutorial that I made specifically just for corridors, Federation corridors. And if you follow those steps, you can make as many corridor rings as you want. Because it's just following along your circle pattern, and you can't mess it up if you just uh, follow certain rules that I follow in that tutorial series. So definitely check that out. It's a very helpful tutorial. Excuse me, I got the hiccups a little bit. Probably the worst time to get it. Hopefully it doesn't stay with me throughout this episode. But we're looking pretty good so far. You can see I got the NCC part out. That last C needs a little bit of love. We're going to have to add a block there and move the two corners. Now it's looking good. I think I'd try to make one more change to the lower part of the C, but I'm ultimately going to go right back to what I have. So far, so good. So we have our middle slash. We slightly move that up a little bit. And now we're going to rework the 1701. And then that's going to call this one a day. Now you can see the one thing I am not doing, the hull lines that I do have, and if you still have your older hull lines, you shouldn't have a problem here, but I'm not building onto the gray. I want to maintain that circle here. So that is a rule that I am following here. I'm not building onto the gray. I am staying within the white concrete only. Now, we finished the one, we're on to the seven. The seven is going to get a little bit funky here for a second, but it's only the top part here is messed up. I'm going to fix this in just a moment. Let's get this top row out of the way, and we'll fill in this full bar right here, and it'll start to look a little bit more like a seven. It's definitely always a challenge when you're doing the registration numbers. You're never quite sure what you're going to end up with because ships are not always going to be the same size. So the and also the registration numbers are all different from ship to ship unless it's unless it's an enterprise. But even then, this enterprise is a different size than the Enterprise A, so the registration number is a different size. You can see I'm not directly going off of the pattern that we have below us, but smaller. I mean, it's close to it. At this point, I'm just using it as a reference. I'm trying to look at what I liked about it, what I didn't like, and trying to make it look a little bit better if I can pull it off. We're going to widen up this 0 just a little bit. That doesn't look too bad. We're getting there. And I saw somebody had actually commented. It wasn't on the Disco Era Enterprise. It was on an older build, but they asked me why I didn't just use Pixel Generator to generate like my registration numbers and whatnot. Because there are programs that you can do things like that. Like you can find a picture like the top half of the Enterprise right here, like in uh, edit to where you only see like this part of it, and you can find pixel filters, put them through. But you're going to end up, like in my experience from when I messed with them, you're going to end up with something that's distorted to the point that's not going to be helpful. And also, I mean, on top of that, I mean, if you were able to really get your hands on something like that, um, you can definitely take advantage of it. I don't know if I necessarily would. I think the only thing that I really want to get, or not necessarily want to get help with, but that I would need and accept the help would be on the actual circle. And that's only because um, to ensure that it comes out close to perfect, because it's almost impossible to build large scale circles just off the whim. Um, it's not impossible, but it's very, very difficult to do. And even again, the registration number can be very difficult to do, and it can take a couple attempts sometimes to get it perfect. But I think that there's almost no such thing as perfect on Minecraft. You're always going to find one or two small discrepancies, maybe, or maybe something didn't come out right. I think there's always something to learn from a build that you do. I mean, like if you look at my previous builds, like the time that it took me to do my Enterprise A, I mean, that was a couple of years. But with each build that I've done, the time frame that it took to do it shortened significantly. And that the same thing will happen to you as you continue on with your shipbuilding. You're going to get better, and you're going to learn how to do things faster and more efficiently. And you're going to make less mistakes, and those are going to be all things that will add up over time to help you to build your ship in a really short period of time, to where um, you'll get to a point where you're building ships where you can get them done in like a month, like I'm usually able to do. You might even be able to get it done within a shorter period of time than that, from beginning to end. There's a lot of people on Minecraft that are way more talented than I am on here, and but I think that the level of detail and the time and the care that I take and the eye that I see for detail um, definitely helps to set me apart from some of the other builders on here. So hopefully you've noticed that as well, and you appreciate the time that I take to research these builds to make sure that they're um, as accurate and as detailed as I can possibly make them based off of the research I'm able to find. Yeah, see, now that that end looks pretty good, and the NCC looks good. I'm gonna have to put a block right there to kind of like make it almost ever so slightly look like it's curving, but we're looking good. We're looking real good. I think that's actually going to do us. That's going to wrap it up for us. So I'm not going to be deleting the original NCC 1701 underneath. I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll transition the new layer down into the hull, and that'll be it. Then the next only thing that you'll have on the Disco Era Enterprise in the foreseeable future will be the showcase video, but that will be coming next week. That should probably be coming out on Wednesday, because like I said, we're going to play it by ear on when the Cerritos is going to start. But I'd say at this point, don't expect it next week, but there is a chance. You know, Monday we'll do Starship Evo. Tuesday we'll do Disco Era Enterprise. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you again for tuning into today's video. And if you did enjoy today's content, content, if you could please help me out and hit that like and subscribe button. If you've already done that, if you can just do one last thing for me and possibly share the video or share my channel, I would be greatly appreciated by that. Everyone that has taken the time to watch my videos, to like them, that's just subscribed to my channel, that comments on my videos, thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting this tutorial series. Again, I was very timid to get started, to throw myself out there like this and do a tutorial, but you all have been very welcoming and helped to give me the confidence to keep this going, and the best is yet to come. So I just want to thank you again, and if you did enjoy today's content, in fact, you can always catch my new Minecraft episodes Tuesdays through Fridays. And you can always catch my new Starship Evo builds on Mondays. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you again. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend, and I will catch you on the next episode.